Most people are exposing dark skin like mine completely wrong and they don't even know it. A lot of filmmakers, me included, were told to expose skin at 70 IRE, and if you have darker skin like me, that advice can completely wreck your image. Your highlights blow out, shadows get noisy. When you try to fix it in post, the skin just goes flat and sometimes plasticky. It just doesn't look right. Today, I'm going to show you the exact IRE range you should actually be using and how to use false colors and zebras to nail it every single time. I'll also be shooting some of this video outdoors as well as indoors because daylight is honestly one of the hardest situations to expose skin in. And I'll be using here the Feelworld SC6 to show you exactly how it's done. If you're into practical stuff like this, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming up next. Links to the XC6 are in the description below. Alright, let's deal with the 70 IRE issue properly. That advice where you say expose skin at 70 IRE, it works in some situations with lighter skin tones in control light. I'm not saying it's completely made up, but trying to do that with darker or melanated skin like mine, IRE 709, and watch what happens. The forehead highlights clip, the cheeks lose details. If you got a window behind your subject like the sky behind me, everything is blown out. The highlights are completely blown. The reason this happened is pretty straightforward. Most modern cameras are built to protect the highlights more than shadows. The dynamic range is weighted towards the top, so the moment you push exposure too high, you're losing information in the brightest parts of the frame, and that information doesn't come back. Take the Lumix S12 for example. That's what I'm shooting on right now. Even with dynamic range boost on, push the highlights too high and they are gone. For darker skin tones in IRE 709, the range that actually works is between 45 to 55 IRE. That's where you want to be. And if you want to push to like commercial looks and a bit more brighter skin, you could probably push it to say 60 IRE. Anything more than 60 IRE into 70 IRE and your dark skins would just be overexposed, or the highlight in the dark skins will be blown out, like the forehead and some parts of the face. So let me show you this on the SC6. I have a camera to my left and it's exposed for the screen. This camera, which is the A roll, is not exposed for the screen, it's exposed for my face. Remember, I'm filming outside, so the exposure of my face will change. But I've set the IRE and my false color at the point I started filming this. So right now, I've activated false color, and maybe if you look at the screen, if I can pick, there are parts of my skin that is in the pink region. I can see that some are in the greens and some are in the dark. The sky seems to be a bit in the safe zone. Some parts of the sky I can see here is pink, no reds in the sky, so that means information in the sky is preserved. And my sweater here and parts of the trees on this side is in the blues, so hopefully I can recover, and the grass behind me is in the grays. So I haven't lost so much information. I think I've preserved as much information as I could preserve. Look at this shot right now of me. Looks fine, right? Watch what happens when I switch on false color on the SC6. I can see my skin got brighter than before. You can see that the sky is in the yellows, is almost clipping. There's a little bit of information, it's not in the orange, but there's some information, but you can see the difference when I try to expose for my skin just using my eyes. So false color replaces the natural image with a color map that shows brightness levels across the whole frame. Every color represents a different IRE level. One look and you know exactly what's happening with your exposure. So hold on, I'm going to set the exposure back to how I would want to set it for my skin. All right, I've set it for how I like or I want it to be. Different brands do their own versions of false color. IRE has theirs, Blackmagic has theirs. The SC6 actually gives you both, but the principle is the same everywhere. So on the SC6, red at 101 IRE means clips. Yellow, orange between 80 and 100 means you're getting close to clipping. As you move down into the greens, pink and grays, roughly 45 to 70 IRE, that's the safe zone. And if you look at the sky here, the sky is sitting in the safe zone in the upper limit. The bushes behind me are also in the safe zone. My hair is in the blues. I could tweak the exposure to further open up my skin. I think I'll probably just do that because I'm getting underexposed a bit. So 1 second. So what I've done now is just open up my aperture a bit from 1.8 to 1.6. And you can see when I did that, if I move out, you can see the sky is going into the yellow bit. So my skin is sitting around. If I try to face, it should be better than before. For my skin, I want to use it at 45 to 55 IRE. That's where I was aiming for. And because the light is changing, I have to be adjusting it. The moment it starts pushing into the 65, 70 range and above, I've gone too far. And this is exactly why you can't rely on your eyes alone, especially when you're outdoors. Your eyes adjust to the brightness around you automatically. So you can look at the screen and think the image is fine when it's actually sitting too hot or probably underexposed. So I've opened up my aperture up to f1.4. And here's the thing, trying to recover overexposed dark skin in post, most of the time it doesn't look right. It just falls flat. It loses that richness and texture. You can't fully get it back. Big productions don't leave this stuff to chance. They use light meters, color cards, diffusers, flags. They measure everything because the cost of getting it wrong in post is too high. The SC6 lets you do the same thing on a smaller budget without a full grip package behind you. So if I was on a big production, I probably would have like a big diffuser cloth over me, diffusing the light and making it even, which would have been good to keep me in the right. But obviously, as the light changes, you would have to keep adjusting things with the camera. And you notice I didn't even touch the ISO. I haven't touched the ISO. I've only just opened up my aperture as much as I can. And now, since I'm using this monitor throughout, let me quickly run you through. The SC6 is a 6-inch Full HD IPS panel with 1500 nit screen brightness. Standing out here in British weather right now, I can read the screen clearly, and that matters a lot for outdoor work. I'm not even at the brightest level. I think I'm about 90% brightness, so I've just pushed it up to 94. This is 100. I'll bring it back down to even 80. And from my eyes here, I can see it clearly. And even if I brought it down to, say, 44, and the sun is out almost overhead, I can still see bright and clearly. So I'll just bump it up to 90 because I exposed that camera for that brightness. You've got 4K 60 HDMI in and out. You've also got 3G SDI in and out. You've also got Type-C for loading up to 32 custom slots, and also for powering the monitor if you want to power it that way, Sony MPF battery slot, and DC in and out. Plenty of ways to power it and connect it to pretty much wherever you're shooting. And just to quickly show you, behind I have a weird contraption. I'm using a wireless transmitter, and I have this thing that converts the Sony MPF battery so I can use the wireless transmitter and power both at once using one single USB-C cable, which is connected to a power bank just out of frame. The touchscreen on this device is very, very responsive. I can adjust volume up and down or increase the exposure like you earlier saw me do. And if I swipe up from the bottom, I can bring the quick access buttons like peeking, so you can see the red lines around me, and there's a lot more you can do. So you can see how responsive the touchscreen is. There's no lag. There was no lag. There was no frustration. 3 customizable buttons are up here at the top. Like I earlier showed you guys, if I press F1, it brings out the other exposure tools. I'll press again to disable it. False color F2 and F3 for my peaking. And then you have a menu scroll knob here that if I press, it brings out the menu. If I don't want to double tap on the screen to access the menu. And then there's the mode exit button. If I press it, it removes, it goes back from where I was. So if I'm in here, I can press the mode menu or the mode exit button once again and press again to exit that. And if I press the mode exit button, it changes from HDMI to SDI. So I have nothing connected via SDI, so that's why I have the blue no signal thing. So I press again to switch back into HDMI. On the left side, you have the power button and a Q20 port. On the top, there's also a Q20 port. And again, that's 3 Q20 ports, which is good so you can rig up the monitor anyhow you want. So there's also a fan built into this thing, and I want to say specifically that this is one of the monitors from Feelworld that I've used, as I've tried a lot of monitors. If you've been following me on this channel, that even at the highest levels, fan speed of 5, it is not that loud. Currently it's at level 1. I'll double tap. I know it's a bit windy, but I'll double tap. I'm going to, I think, user options, no, system. I'm going to cooling fan, and if I press it to the highest level, I can hear it. And I'll try to bring the microphone, which is on my chest, Don't know if you guys can hear, but it's not that loud to disturb your audio and set. I'll just go back to mode 1. So that's it, but you can't turn off the fan on the monitor. But at level 1, you can barely hear it. I can barely hear it. So that's a real improvement that matters, especially when you're on a quiet set. You get false colors, you get zebras, waveform, frame guides, and like I mentioned, 2 full color mode, IRE style and standard. And this monitor is selling at around $189 right now, down from $227 at the time of making this video. For what it does at this price, this is a lot of monitor. To properly test the SC6, I linked up with Joe and Soti, both with different skin tones, and many thanks to them both. Joe, I shot outside on the bench. Soti was indoors. Different environments, different skin tones. I wanted to see if the SC6 could help me keep both of them in the right range. For this test, I decided to shoot on my Blackmagic Pixel 6K, and even though I have a Pixel monitor, I wanted to see if this could replace that. With Joe, who has a lighter melanated skin, I aimed for 50 to 60 IRE under natural lighting, and the image looked balanced and the highlights stayed in check. With Soti, darker skin tone, I aimed for 55 IRE indoors under controlled lighting. Same thing, what came out was clean, natural, with nothing blown. And what you notice when skin is sitting in the right range is that you can see the richness, you can see the texture, there is detail. It looks like actual skin. Compare that with pushing dark skin to 70 IRE and then trying to pull it back in post. It doesn't recover the same way. That richness is gone. And these are the kind of details that separate images that look professional from the ones that just look off. Now, the other tool I want to show you is zebras. Zebras put stripe patterns over any part of the image that hits a certain brightness level. So on the SC6, I set my skin to 55 IRE, Joe's to 60, and Sote to 55 as well. The moment any part of my skin and their skin crosses that level, the stripes show up. It's a live warning. I can move around, adjust the shot, and I'll know instantly if exposure is creeping somewhere it shouldn't be. A lot of people use zebras to catch clipping. So right now, I have zebras turned off, and before that, let me turn on false color. This is false color. You can see the red parts are the overexposed parts of the screen. And if I deactivate false color and activate zebras, so you can see what part of the frame is overexposed. I can see the parts of my skin that is overexposed or underexposed, and right now you can see that it is not overexposed. If I try to adjust my ISO, for example, my camera, to boost up the exposure, you will see what happens to my skin. So now you can see I've increased ISO, and you can see most of my face of my skin is clipping, and you can see the zebras have been activated. So this is with zebras off, and this is with zebras on it. And now I've adjusted my ISO back to how I usually had set it. And if I activate peaking, you can see that just the bright areas, that part are overexposed. And I'll just turn it back off, so I have everything set properly. So false colors and zebras together. Once you're using both of these tools, you stop guessing completely. You can build your whole lighting setup around what the tools are telling you. Now for control lighting, like here in the studio, you have the liberty to manipulate how much light is hitting your skin. You can see it straight away on both false color and zebras. The background is completely safe and not within the exposure areas of my skin. To bring it in line with my skin, I could add extra lights or increase the brightness of the light behind me. If what you're seeing behind me were a real window, I'd ND it or diffuse it with film material. Now, just in case you're wondering what's creating that nice light strip behind me, that's a SmallRig RF05V portable zoom LED video light, and it features an ultra wide color temperature range from 1900 Kelvin to 8000 Kelvin with a zoomable beam angle of 17 degrees to 65 degrees and a 2600 milliamp battery that should provide you up to 125 minutes of continuous use at 5 watts standard mode and about 23 minutes in 8 watts boost mode. And although it has just about 5 watts of power, it fits just nicely into my setup and provides no clipping at all. So if I were to activate false colors on the SC6, there is no clipping from the light. Also in post, you can see where the light is sitting. You can also know that the tube lights behind me are clipped. There's no information in those areas. I've also left a link in the description so you can check them out. If I wanted to fix this, I would ND the tube lights down or bring in a diffuser to soften those lights. That's how it's done in proper productions. First of all, you measure, then you shape the light or exposure, not the other way around. If I were to show you behind the scenes, there are a lot of things happening here to keep the difference in the background lighting and the light hitting my skin. I'll leave that for another video, so make sure you're subscribed. The monitor has told me exactly what needs to be changed. I'm not guessing at all. Now, very quickly, if you shoot in log, S-log, V-log, C-log, darker skin will usually sit a bit lower before conversion, sometimes around the 40 to 50 IRE depending on the curve. Know your camera, know where it maps exposure, but the principles always stays the same. Don't blindly push the 70 IRE. That's the mistake I used to make and a lot of people are making. Don't repeat it. And if you got multiple people in the frame with different skin tones, always expose for the darkest person. That's your starting point, and then you can work from there. So that's it for me on this one. The Feelworld SC6, lightweight, 1500 nits brightness, accurate false color, zebras that do the job. A monitor isn't just about the screen size, it's about whether it helps you make better decisions on set. And this one here does. Under $200, works with cinema cameras, mirrorless cameras, wherever you're shooting on, SDI, HDMI, multiple power options. For this price, that's not a budget compromise, that's proper working tool. There are a couple more things that fit into getting melanated skin like mine looking right. White balance being a big one, and ISO is something I see a lot of people getting wrong in many ways they don't even realize. I'll get into both videos properly in future. If this helped you, do me a favor, leave a like, drop a comment and subscribe. Links to the SC6 in the description below. It's a filmmaker. Thanks for watching. God bless and peace.